All right, so today we are diving into Lovers and Haters by Blaize on Fire.
Oh, I am so excited for this one.
Yeah. Have you heard of it before?
I have, yeah, I've seen it around.
It's not your typical relationship advice book.
Yeah, right.
Like this, she gets real,
Right.
like real, raw, from the heart, pulls from all of her own life experiences.
Interesting.
So are you ready to unpack this one?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, so like we do, let's start right at the beginning with the dedication page.
Okay.
And it's dedicated to God,
Mm.
which, not unusual for a week like this.
Right.
But then it lists all 8 of her children.
Wow.
Wait for it, different fathers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I mean, talk about a conversation starter.
Yeah, that's something else.
Yeah, you don't see that every day.
No, you don't.
So what do you think that says just from the dedication page alone?
I mean, it's definitely not your typical relationship advice book, that's for sure.
Right?
But I think it speaks to her authenticity.
Yeah.
Okay. She's not trying to present herself as some kind of relationship guru. Like, she's got it all figured out.
Right.
It's more like she's saying, hey, I've been through it. I've had my ups and downs, and this is what I've learned.
Yeah, it's like, this is real life, and I'm
Okay.
not afraid to share it.
Exactly.
So then we get into the preface.
Okay.
And she talks about how she was actually inspired to write the book because her sons,
Mm-hmm.
they had this like kind of jaded view of relationships.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine as a mom hearing that from your kids?
Yeah, that's got to be tough.
That's heartbreaking,
Absolutely.
And it just, I don't know, it made me think about
Yeah.
how do we keep that hope alive?
It's so easy to become cynical,
Right.
especially when you see so many relationships failing around you.
Right. And especially in the world today. It's like everywhere you look, it's like, another breakup, another divorce, another.
It's easy to get jaded,
Sure.
for sure.
And so for her to be like, no, I'm going to write this book for my sons
Yeah.
because I want them to still believe in love.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
It is. It's a testament to, I think, the power of hope and the desire for connection, even in the face of all that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the dedication, we've got the preface,
Great.
and then there's the foreword,
Okay.
which is written by prophetess Nicole L. Sharp.
Interesting.
And now you might be thinking, okay, a prophetess.
Yeah, what's the connection?
Right,
there?
like how does this all fit in?
Right.
But she's actually a domestic violence survivor
Oh, wow.
and a longtime friend of Blaize's.
Okay, so she's bringing in a whole other perspective.
Exactly.
Wow.
So it's like she's saying, hey, I've seen the darkest side of relationships.
Right.
And even I still believe in the possibility of love.
That's huge.
It is
but-
huge.
Yeah.
And then we get to Blaize's introduction.
Okay.
And she drops some truth bombs in here. Right off the bat, she's like, listen, personal healing is essential
Mm.
before you even think about getting into a relationship.
Right.
And I love that she doesn't just say it, she explains why.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
You're bringing all of your baggage into the relationship with you.
Right. And if you haven't dealt with that, it's just going to come out eventually.
Exactly.
It's like she's saying you can't build a solid house on a shaky foundation.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, you got to do the work.
Absolutely.
So we've got a mom of 8 who's been through it all, a foreword from a domestic violence survivor, and a call for some serious self-reflection before you even think about a relationship.
Wow, that's quite the setup.
That's just the beginning.
I'm intrigued. Let's keep going.
So she calls this section Lovers and Haters.
Okay.
And this is where she really, I think, kind of lays it all out there.
Yeah.
And she does not hold back.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
her voice really comes through in this part.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear what her tone is.
It's very direct.
Okay.
Very I don't know. It's almost like she's talking to you as a friend and just being like, okay, girl, let me tell you.
Okay,
This is how it is.
Yeah.
So she's very clear about her categories.
Right.
She's got lovers, which are the good guys, right?
Right.
They're kind, they're generous, positive.
Sure.
And then there's the haters.
Okay.
And she kind of, I don't know, she doesn't really spend a ton of time on them.
Really?
It's almost like she's just like, they're negative, stay away.
Interesting.
You don't need that in your life.
So it's very black and white.
Very black and white.
Okay.
Which, some people might be like, well, it's not that simple.
Right.
But I think it speaks to this idea that, you got to protect your energy.
Yeah, I can see that.
You can't let that negativity drag you down.
Absolutely.
Especially when it comes to relationships.
Right, because that can be really draining.
Absolutely.
If you're surrounded by negativity, it's going to affect your own well-being.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she's speaking from experience here, like she's really open about the challenges she's faced, like from a difficult family background, relationships with, we talked about her children's fathers and how like those experiences, especially with men who weren't there for her, weren't there for her kids, how that really shaped her perspective on things.
It makes sense though, right? Like you go through those experiences.
Absolutely.
It's going to shape how you view relationships.
Absolutely. And I think that's what makes it so powerful is it's not just some theory she's like read in a book.
Right.
Like this is her life.
It's real.
This is real, yeah.
It makes it more relatable, I think, too.
Absolutely.
For the reader, because it's like, okay, this isn't just some abstract idea.
Yeah.
This is something that she's actually lived through.
It's like she's saying, I've been through the fire.
Yeah.
And I came out stronger.
Yep.
And you can too.
Yeah, I like that.
But it's not about blaming others.
Okay.
And she says this over and over again.
Okay.
Hurt people. Hurt people.
That's so true, though.
Like, have you ever noticed that?
All the time, yeah.
It's like, someone who's been through something really tough.
Yeah.
They might not even realize they're doing it.
Right.
But they're kind of perpetuating that cycle.
It's like a defense mechanism almost.
It is. It's like this, like, almost like a virus,
Right.
Like the hurt just kind of gets passed on and
Exactly.
on and on.
Yeah, it's a cycle.
So how do you break that cycle?
That's the $1,000,000 question, right?
Right. And thankfully, she doesn't just leave us hanging with that.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, hurt people, but here's what you can do about it.
I like that she's solution-oriented.
Yes, she's very much about like, okay.
So what does she say?
Well, she really gets into that in part 3, where she starts talking about like how to actually navigate these relationships. Okay.
But she starts by talking about heart on ice.
Yeah.
So heart on ice, you know that feeling?
Like after you've been hurt.
Yes. Like relationship ends badly. And you're like, nope, never again.
Yeah.
Never opening myself up like that again.
Oh, I've been there.
It's like you put that wall up around your heart
totally.
so you won't get hurt again.
Self-preservation, right?
Right, exactly.
Exactly.
But then
You're trapped.
yes, it's like you're safe in there.
Yeah.
But you're also like lonely.
Exactly.
And you can't really experience like the good stuff either.
Exactly. You're cutting yourself off from real connection.
Yes, and she talks about that.
Okay.
About how like it's understandable to want to protect yourself, but you also have to like recognize when it's becoming a problem.
Right, when it's preventing you from finding happiness.
Exactly.
So what's her advice? Like, how do you break out of that?
Communication.
Okay.
That's a big one for her, like really communicating with your partner, which easier said than done.
Oh, absolutely.
Like really, truly communicating.
And not just talking, but like listening.
Yeah. And just
trying to see their perspective.
It takes effort, though.
It does.
To really put yourself in someone else's shoes,
Especially when you've been hurt before.
Oh, yeah.
Because then it's like every little thing they do, you're like, oh, here we go again.
You're already on the defense looking for those red flags.
So how do you like stop doing that?
Yeah. How do you break that cycle?
She talks about challenging your assumptions.
Okay.
Like instead of just assuming the worst,
right.
Actually like talking to your partner about it.
Being open and honest.
Yeah, and being vulnerable.
Which is scary.
It is scary.
But necessary, right?
Absolutely. And like asking for what you need.
Instead of expecting them to just know.
Yes. Because how many times have we all been there?
Oh, countless times, I'm sure.
Where it's like, well, if they really love me, they would know.
Exactly.
But that's not fair.
No, it's not fair to them or to yourself.
Exactly.
You have to communicate your needs.
Yes.
Otherwise, how are they supposed to know?
And that's, I think, where a lot of relationship problems stem from.
Yeah. Unspoken expectations.
It's like we have this idea in our heads.
This fantasy.
Of like what it's supposed to be like.
And when it doesn't match up, we get disappointed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So she talks a lot about like respect, trust, loyalty.
These are the big ones.
The big ones, the foundations.
The foundation of any relationship, really.
Absolutely.
But she makes it clear it's not just about saying the words, right?
It's about
actions.
Actions, yeah. Showing up every day.
Being there for each other through thick and thin.
Being reliable.
Exactly.
And reciprocation, that's a big one too.
Okay, what does she say about that?
Like, it's not enough to just, be on the receiving end.
Right.
You have to give back too.
It's a two-way street.
Exactly. And it's not just about material things either. It's about like emotional support,
Making each other feel valued.
Yes, feeling appreciated.
So it's really about balance then.
Balance, yeah. And that goes beyond just the romantic part of the relationship, too.
Okay, how so?
Well, she talks about unity, like, in other areas of life.
Like what?
Finances? Yeah.
Yeah.
Shared responsibilities.
Makes sense.
Like, you're a team, you're in this together.
Teamwork.
And she even talks about, like, business. Like starting a business together as a couple.
I like that. That's kind of cool.
It is kind of cool. It's like she's saying, why just build a life together, build an empire together?
I love that energy.
Right. So we've covered a lot, but there's this whole other layer to the book.
What's that?
The spiritual side.
Right, because we talked about that a little bit at the beginning.
And it's woven throughout. Like, her faith is very important to her.
Really?
And she talks about being equally yoked.
Okay, meaning?
Having those shared values, spiritual beliefs.
Yeah, that's important. Especially for the long haul.
Absolutely. And then there's untying your soul.
Ooh, that's a powerful one.
It is powerful. And it's basically about recognizing when something isn't serving you anymore.
Toxic relationships, maybe?
Yeah, or even just, like, old patterns.
Old baggage.
And having the courage to let go.
Even if it hurts.
Even if it's hard.
Letting go is never easy.
It's not, but she's like, sometimes you have to walk away.
To make space for something better.
Exactly. So I think, if you're looking for a relationship advice book that's, like, real and raw and doesn't sugarcoat anything, this is it.
Blaize doesn't hold back.
She doesn't. And, it's clear she's speaking from the heart.
Yeah, and from experience.
Exactly.
That's what makes it so compelling.
It's like having a conversation with a wise friend.
Yeah, a friend who's been there, done that, and has the scars to prove it.
But also, like, the wisdom to share what she's learned. So if you're ready to do the work, the inner work.
Yeah, to really look at yourself and your patterns.
This book is a great place to start.
A guide on the journey to finding love.
And not just with someone else, but with yourself, too.
Yeah, that's so important, that self-love.
It all starts there.
It does. It really does.
Well, this was quite a deep dive.
It was. It was fascinating.
A lot to think about.
Definitely. A lot to unpack.
And hopefully a lot to learn from.
Always.
All right. Well, until next time, happy diving, everyone.
Happy diving.